Good morning. This is the 17th Friday of April. It's gorgeous outside, really sunny, and this is my least favorite room of the studio. It's where I do all my glazing, so it's way back in the building. So I'm actually standing on the very edge of the shoreline. The rest of the building is all over the water. But the tide's out at the moment, so you can't hear waves, but sometimes you can actually hear waves underneath here when I'm working. At the moment I've got a kiln firing, this big 10 cubic foot Bailey kiln, and so it's clicking, so that's what you can hear. I'm going to glaze all of those tea bowls that I actually showed you decorating. You can probably just see them there. These are the ones I did with slip, and they were bisquied about a week ago, but I will have to psych myself up to glazing. So basically, we've got some tea bowls being glazed. Preparation is everything when you do glazing. I have a lot of buckets here. Like most potters, we invest in buckets. So I have a whole pile up above on the shelves there. But these ones are all my glaze buckets, and I've just laid them all out to give myself some sort of feeling of logic. I've got 3 different oatmeals. Basic oatmeal speckled. Then I've got a creamy oatmeal that's it has a yellow stain in it, but it always comes out this creamy yellow. And then I have a really bright yellow, which is almost lemon. And then I have an apple green, a dark green, a variegated blue, a grey sort of slate stone color, and then behind it I have my tomato red, and then I have my Tenmaku gold at the very end. So I've tried to kind of give myself a little bit of logic, like the opaque glazes are there. And I have a bright blue in the back there as well. And then I've given myself 2 greens, which are both fairly transparent, a little opaque in this one, but mostly that one is just a regular dark green transparent. And then this one is this little transparent grey blue, and so is this one, the slate grey. And then the 2 browns are fairly brown. I mean, the tomato red is totally opaque, and then this one, Tenmaku gold, if you put it on thin, it actually has a sort of dark honey color. But if you slow the kiln when cooling it, you get much more speckly matte yellow coming through. So basically it's logical glazing, I hope. So I'm just going to glaze a few so you get the feeling of it. I'll show you the whole shelf that I've got here, so I'm not going to put you through all this, but I'll let the video run for about maybe half an hour. But I've got a whole shelf. You can't see the bottom shelf actually, but a whole shelf of things to glaze today, including a bunch of teapots at the back. And then I've got some large planters around the place too, which I threw in an earlier video, that I may actually glaze as well. Depends on how long I can take this. Glazing is my least favorite of all the things that I actually do in the studio. So the volume is going to fade in and out because I've got the microphone over here and the camera's right over there, and my glaze shelf there, and all the buckets here. So hopefully it won't be too annoying with it going loud and quiet. Alright, actually, you know what I'll do is I'll turn my kiln off for a minute. There you go, I stopped the kiln, so basically you won't keep hearing that click. Alright, let's get going. This one was fairly nicely slip trailed with a sort of patterning on it. So I'm going to go for first a glaze that's slightly transparent with colour, and then I'm going to put the oatmeals over the top, and then the way you'll see I do it, I can glaze from both sides. So we'll go with the green first. So I'm putting it in sideways. I'll gather some glaze on the inside, and then I go up and down very fast, and that sucks the glaze with a vacuum into the inside of the piece and splashes inside. Before it dries, you can see it got all the way on the inside. Now I'm going to do the creamy oatmeal. So we've got it creamy oatmeal on the upper half. Now that will take a little bit of time to dry, but while it's drying, I'm going to take the tongs and just touch it. I think I'll do the tomato red. So you can see it's green on the inside. You've got the green down to there, and then the oatmeal dipped over the top, and then the tomato red on the bottom. So I was able to get 3 colors on the same piece. Alright, so that's fairly even, and the glaze will melt. But basically, you know, you've got 3 stripes in the glaze. So this one, I'm going to try and give it a little bit more motion and a little extra energy by putting the glaze in and kind of wobbling a bit, so that we get a sort of a varied line going around it. And let's try, I'll do the variegated blue on this one. You always stir them just before you dip because they settle out fairly quickly. That's why there's a stick in each one. Good prep. Okay, so I wobbled it. So you can see it's not a very even line. And let's, I think I'll do the really yellow. I'm not going to do as much, just going to do a hint of yellow on the rim, but I'm wobbling it so it's not level. So you could definitely have that feeling of it not being level at all. And which one next? Let's go with the green again. Now tap it down because my foot is a little hollow area. So my foot is hollow, so when I tap it down, you really have to try and splash it on the inside of there so you get glaze on the inside. But as you can see, the lines are not parallel. There's a little bit more energy to that because it depends on how you dip it, but there we go. Alright, so this one, let's go with a, instead of getting any glaze on the outside at all, I'm going to use a pitcher. Let's just rinse that a sec. I'm going to use a pitcher to pour glaze on the inside, which I always hate because it always dribbles. And pour it out. See, the little dribble. That's why you always have a clean bucket of water. So you can wipe the glaze off the outside. So it's a very different, the inside of this will be oatmeal, and then I can go with the outside. Let's go with the bright blue this time. I'm going to dip it straight down. So I'm not going to do sideways here, I'm just going straight down. The air pressure will stop the glaze going inside. Oatmeal inside, blue even on the outside. Take the tongs again. I'm going to go with the grey. Get that glaze on the inside of the foot. I'm going to dip right down to the blue and overlap just a very tiny bit. So this gives you a very even 3 colors in one piece, basically. Now, when I was doing the slip trailing, I kind of considered this one the least successful of all those pieces I did. So I'm going to use an opaque glaze, like tomato red, over the entire surface. So that'll hide that slip trailing a little bit, but it will still show a little bit. So we'll see what happens. I always lose my tongs while I'm glazing, so I keep 2 sets, so I can always go back to the bucket, and then by the time I glaze this one, I'll spot the other ones again. There you go. So this time we're going to wave it a little bit in the glaze. Let's do the oatmeal again. So this one has a wavy line, and you can see the decoration through the glaze, and we'll see whether that shows up. Now if you're very quick, my glazes tend to crawl off if you glaze too thick, but take the tongs out. It's dry enough so I can just hit the rim again. Let's try the medium dark green. So we still have three glazes on this piece, and I can still slip trail and do some glazes after I've glazed these as well. Tongs right back where I should put them. Alright, so let's just play with this one. I'm going to go halfway in the glaze sideways, turn it around, go halfway in the glaze the other direction. So I'll need my tongs again. It's good to keep them in your hand. So I'm going to go in the green, give it a quick stir, and go in halfway, just past the halfway, so I'll hold it by the side. There you go. Make sure you can hold it without touching the glaze. And now I'm going to hold it in a different color glaze. Let's do the blue. Past the halfway point. So instead of horizontal lines, these ones will have vertical lines. Now I'm going to catch it just at the right moment before the glaze is totally dry, so I need to be able to touch it about now. And I'm going to go into the oatmeal in a slightly different angle. This is the creamy oatmeal. So you've got the glaze, but instead of horizontal lines, we now have more vertical lines. Glazing is tricky, but if you just think of it in terms of just try and make everyone different, I'm not consistent. I mean, in my pottery, when people come in, I want a set. I say, I don't think I can do that. I can if I try really hard, but most of my pieces are pretty unique and different, and I like that. But like the stencil technique I just showed you the other day, that's when if somebody wants a set, I can make a set pretty repetitively. But when you're doing things like this with glazes melting, it's good to just have fun and play, because it's always a surprise when it comes out of the kiln, and that's why after 47 years I still have fun doing what I'm doing. Alright, so let's try the blue on this one. I'm going to dip it in, suck it inside, splash it around a little bit, and then go to another one with the same, and then basically dip it upside down the right way up and go into another glaze. So see, you've got the splash line, so it's not even. I haven't used the regular oatmeal, speckle, so I'll try that. So that's just on the rim, splashed around a little bit. I'm going to go this and this in another glaze. Let's try the very deep blue. That looks pretty nice. Before it gets too dry, I think I'm going to try a little bit of the grey the other direction, sweeping it across the glaze. Now it's pretty wet on the top there, because I've got 3 glazes already applied. Maybe 4. Blue, oatmeal, grey, and other blue. 4 glazes there. So I'm going to go with the tomato red on the bottom. Oh, I'll go with Tenriku Gold. Somebody asked me if they could see some finished pieces in the videos while I'm doing it to see what things look like. So I'll do a little video of all these out of the kiln with close-ups when they come out. So that one has 5 glazes on it. It's got some nice runs down on the inside too. tongs are great. And these ones found me as well. Now this one is real subtle. It's basically, you can catch it in the light just right so you can see it. It's white slip on white clay, and that's it. So it's just got a texture really of slip trailing. So I'm going to dip this one in a glaze that shows texture, which is the apple green. Seems to do well with that. Okay, so it's even. It's very subtle texture underneath, so I don't want to complicate too much. I'm going to dip a little oatmeal. No, I'm going to dip a little of the bright yellow on top. And what would go nicely with that, at the bottom I think, I'm going to go with the tomato red. Alright, so it's just the green with a little yellow on the rim, which is already starting to run down a little bit, and all that, and then brown on the bottom. I'll just do one or two more and then we'll call it quits, because this will take me all afternoon. I've got a lot of glazing here with the big pots too. So let's just go with, I'll go with the regular oatmeal. So this is an opaque glaze, but not totally opaque. There's a little hint that you can see through it usually. So that's over the whole thing. And because the slip is actually under there, it should show through at different colors. But I'm going to give the rim a tiny little bit of green. Alright, and now bottom. So when it pops, when it looks off the shelf, when it stands on a shelf, you can, so what, go oatmeal brown? No, I don't think so. I think I'll go with the dark green. Now when you do glazing like this, and you're doing lots of different glazes on them, don't get too thick. So the glazes, when you're mixing them up before, you should make sure that they're the consistency of single cream really. There we go. Otherwise the glaze gets thick and it will crack right off the pieces. And get good at using these tongs. You don't want to scratch the pieces, you pull it out. Alright, what can I do that I haven't done? I'll go with Tenmaku Gold. Alright, so Tenmaku Gold is basically transparent with a little hint of yellow in it. When it crystallizes in its cooling, it will make these little iron crystals which kind of go a yellow ochre. So I'm just going to put a little hint of blue on the rim. Little hint of blue, and then the bottom I'm going to go with the green. Alright, so you got the idea, and it'll be fun to see these all come out again. Everyone will be different. And when I fire my kiln, I fire it to a Stephen Hill program, which means it's cooling, rapid cooling till about 1750 Fahrenheit, and then I soak it for an hour. So my browns tend to get really rich, and the crystals in the glazes have time to crystallize out a little bit, so you get some real textures in the glaze. Alright, This is Vaughan Smith at Westcote Bell Pottery in Nova Scotia. Check out the Facebook page if you want, and also take a look at the website. I've got westcotebellpottery.ca, and the old one in the United States is westcotebellpottery.com. All right, so take care and have a great day. Bye.